What's up? My name's Glue Boy. Welcome back to the channel and still on the series. So today we're going to be talking about the Lord of Pestilence, Lord of Decay, Plague God Nurgle. We're talking about Nurgle, who has probably got one of the strongest aesthetics in 40k in the aspect that he's fucking disgusting. Everything about him is just rot, pestilence, decay, nasty shit. And I think while Khorne outwardly is a very, very recognizable Chaos God with his, catchphrase of blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, Nurgle's the one that pops up the most, I think because of that really strong style. I mean, if you've played Vermintide or Darktide, both of them heavily feature Nurgle shit. And for good reason. I mean, they do have just zombies in their faction, so they work really well for horde declaring video games. But anyways, let's just jump right into Nurgle. So Nurgle is the Chaos God of pestilence, decay, rot, entropy, general gross shit. And Nurgle is pretty nasty, and one of his favorite pastimes is creating new diseases. Diseases he likes to drop on people and then wait. Because the thing with Nurgle is that he probably does the most actual corrupting, like alongside maybe Slim Nash. Because Nurgle's success rate is pretty high, as lots of little things feed into Nurgle, like the fear of death, that insecurity about what lays beyond, or even just like, my mom is sick and I'm worried about her, so I'm gonna pray and hope she gets better. That feeds Nurgle. And as well, he has a pretty good recruiting tactic in the fact that he will wait until, say, someone who's really sick is like on that verge of death. And then he kind of slinks in like, hey, you seem to be in a lot of pain. What if I lifted that pain for you? And then he can pull you right in, because you're most likely going to be like, fuck yeah, please, I'm dying. And that's one of Nurgle's key strategies. He creates a disease, like he makes some fucking random disease like Nurgle's dick remover. He drops it on a planet, and then everyone starts, dying from this cock contagion. And they start reaching out like, oh God, oh please help us. We're dying, my dick's melting off. And Nurgle comes right in, it's like, hey, what's up, fellas? I can make that stop, or I can make it so you don't care anymore. And everyone's like, oh God, please. And then he takes him over. And maybe, he actually just turns them into fucking poxwalkers, which 40k zombies. Or you just now have a bunch of weird, festering corpse people that are real fucking jolly. Because that part is the key phrase. Nurgle doesn't cure you. He gets rid of your pain, and he gets rid of the part of you that cares. Because Nurgle is a chaos god that, like, here would be the point that I go in and I'm like, let me tell you some of the good aspects that they go into. I struggled to find any. Because Nurgle's entire shit is pretty bad. However, there's the key aspect that he is kind of nature incarnate. He encompasses the life cycle, death, life, all that stuff, and every part of it feeds into him. That's kind of where it ends, because he creates diseases and pestilence and preys on people who are at their worst time in their lives. However, Nurgle is pretty fucking dope if you actively worship him, because Nurgle followers are the happiest people. I think them and orcs are probably the happiest. Death Guard aren't really. They're all kind of somber and all weird and gross and kind of a bunch of dickheads. But the actual Nurgle Demons are fucking nice to each other. They all refer to Nurgle as Grandfather Nurgle, because he genuinely has this, like, fatherly feel. And this is even fucking carried to their greater demons, the Great Unclean Ones, who actively treat the other demons underneath their rule as like they were his kids. And they take pleasure in, like, delight in every new boil or pox on one of their followers. Like, oh my God, I'm so happy you achieved that. And, like, genuinely care. It's insane. And they're so jolly, but they all look like this, and they have their guts hanging out. That and, they're really happy as well, for a slight worse reason, because Nurgle gets rid of the ability to feel pain, and he gets rid of your, like, care of that. Because Nurgle shit is next to impossible to kill, because they don't feel pain, so they'll just walk through all your bullets, and they're all covered in, like, festering wounds and bloated corpse flesh. So you're shooting into something that isn't working and hasn't functioned as a body in probably thousands of years. Disgusting. I am sorry for the art that is going to be popping up for this entire video. But yeah, other than that, Nurgle has some beef with another Chaos God. Another Chaos God I talked about, and my personal favorite, Tzeentch. They fucking hate each other. Mainly because Nurgle is the god of entropy. So you could kind of put him as like sloth and just not wanting to do much. Well, Tzeentch obviously is the like god of change and hope and ambitions. So Tzeentch likes to work on these big old complicated plans. And then Nurgle, who delights at fucking him over, just again drops Nurgle's dick remover on that planet, and boom, now they got a big old like warp disease infestation. Tzeentch's plans are fucked, and Nurgle gets the pickings of whatever survives, because Nurgle's actual like corruption plan is really fucking effective, because even if a bunch of people die in the process, that feeds them, because death and decay feed Nurgle. So in most situations he involves himself in, it's a pure win-win. I think of all the Chaos Gods, Nurgle's got one of the best deals, since he kind of covers such a vast majority of existence and can really reach all sorts of people. And then for their number, Nurgle's number is 7 as his magical number. Again, there's no actual reason for these numbers to be picked. They're just a thing. But the cool thing with Nurgle, when compared to the other Chaos God factions, as like on the tabletop, 7 comes up a lot. Auras have a range of 7. If you're rolling some dice, like for a special rule, a lot of times you need to get 7s, like stuff like that. A lot of Nurgle stuff just kind of pulls a Robert Fripp, frontman of King Crimson, and counts everything in 7s. That is a very specific reference that statistically somebody at some point in time is going to get and enjoy. But then we got Nurgle Demons, which are fun and disgusting. They're not as crazy as Tzeentch stuff. They're just all gross. You have your basic stuff like your Nurglings, which are tiny little disease imp creatures that are born from the guts of great unclean ones. And they're kind of just a bunch of children. They're all mischievous. They run around all excitedly. They'll cause havoc when you're not looking. If you want an excellent example, just boot up Total War Warhammer 3, open up a Nurgle faction, and just zoom in on the Nurglings. They're all just kind of like swarming around each other, playing. When they're moving, they kind of just grab each other and roll up in like a big ball, or make little cartwheels with each other. They're weird, and a lot of them are just mischievous. And then we have some other ones. We have like the Beasts of Nurgle, which is something I've touched on in a previous video. These guys are big slug monsters that wreak pure pestilence. They have an acidic slime they leave, and they have the temperament of puppies. They see people, and they're like, hell yeah, friend! And they run over, start playing with them, and then they die, because they got like a bunch of diseases, and they're rotting away. The beast gets sad because their friend is dead, and then they turn and see new friends, and they run after them. The Death Guard literally corral them by having them chase land raiders, and then they turn away really quick so they can run right at the enemy, because they're dogs, and they'll chase cars. There's also plenty of other gross stuff, like you have flying cavalry that are giant flies. And then there's the great one, the Great Unclean One, which are fucking nasty, obviously. They have literally every disease known to existence festering away in them. Their guts are just hanging out, and they spill it all around. Their plague blades just rot anything they touch. And again, they're all really fucking nice, because they treat like Nurglings and such as their actual children. And it's also noted in a thing, they reek to high hell. Apparently you can smell them from miles away. And then lastly, we got the Boons of Nurgle. What do you get when you inevitably get corrupted by Nurgle after a fateful bout of Nurgle's dick remover? Well, there's a few things. First, you have the Mark of Nurgle, which gets rid of your ability to feel pain and kind of stop caring about being sick and dying. That's the first one. It's pretty basic. Also, he makes you just bloated with pure pestilence. He just kind of fills your entire body with disease. Good and jolly. And then we got some general fun stuff, like the Biting Tongue, which gives you a giant tongue with rotating teeth that bite. Stuff like you can get your own coterie of Nurglings to follow you around that you probably have to corral like actual children, because if you turn your back, they're gonna start fucking with something they shouldn't be. As well, you can also get blessed that you leave a highly deadly and acidic trail of slime wherever you walk. Or, I guess at that case, you could probably say shambling is a better word. And other than that, like, there's just a lot of general stuff like that. Just, he corrupts your body, changes it, typical gross body horror. Or you could get your hands on a Man Reaper scythe, which is a scythe that is insanely powerful, a bunch of Death Guard have it, and is a really powerful blade specifically coated in the fucking goop and disgusting filth that directly rolls off of Nurgle's throne in the warp, which melts people when it touches them. And a blade so strong, you can just cleave through like 10 dudes in a single swing if you're good enough. And as well, they actually have a secondary effect because whatever they're kind of touching also, besides dying, saps the will to live from their target. Kind of like that one staff I talked about with Tzeentch where he bonks you on the head and you kind of just forget what you're doing. This one just makes you kind of just want to chill out and stagnate with the entropy and then probably get beheaded because you're standing still. But yeah, that's Nurgle. Nurgle is a really cool chaos god. He's really fun, disgusting as fuck to look at. Sorry if you're squeamish. But anyways, that's about it. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. Stay tuned for next episode where I talk about Slaanesh. Something I'm only slightly dreading. But, see ya.